most remarkable inventions in human history. An invention so common, so familiar, and so deeply woven into our everyday lives that many of us rarely stop to think about it. Right now, it may be sitting beside you. Perhaps it's charging on a nearby table. Perhaps it's resting in your pocket. Perhaps it's the very device you're using to listen to this story. Yet, the object we now carry everywhere has a history stretching back decades. A story of inventors, engineers, dreamers, and visionaries. A story of changing technologies, changing habitats, and changing societies. Tonight, we are going to explore how the world fits into your pocket. So settle comfortably beneath your blankets, allow your shoulders to relax, and together let us travel back to a time before mobile phones existed. Imagine waking up on a quiet morning sometime in the 1950s. The world feels slower, calmer, more predictable. Outside your window, milk bottles sit neatly on doorsteps. Newspapers rest on front porches. Cars move steadily along tree-lined streets. Inside the home, there is no glow from smartphone screens, no notification sounds, no text messages waiting to be read, no social media feeds updating every second. In fact, there is no way for anyone to contact you unless they know exactly where you are. In the hallway sits a telephone. Perhaps it hangs on the wall. Perhaps it rests on a small wooden table beside a notepad and pen. Its body is heavy, solid, built to last for decades. To make a call, you lift the receiver and place it against your ear. A gentle humming dial tone greets you. Then comes the slow processing of dialing. Your finger slips into a numbered hole. You rotate the circular dial. Release. Wait. Listen. Then repeat. Each number requires patience. Each call requires intention. There are no contacts saved in memory. Every important number must be remembered or written down somewhere nearby. And if you leave the house, the telephone stays behind. If someone calls while you're shopping, visiting friends, or enjoying a day at the seaside, they simply cannot reach you. Not because the technology is broken, but because communication itself is tied to a physical location. Today that feels almost unimaginable. Yet for generations, it was entirely normal. People arranged plans carefully. They agreed on meeting times and places, and then they trusted one another to arrive. There was no message saying running 5 minutes late, no live location sharing, no instant update. The world required businesses depended on them. Entire industries grew around them. Yet one dream remained just beyond reach. What if communication could travel with the person? What if a telephone no longer had to stay connected to a wall? Engineers around the world pursued this question, and although the answer would eventually arrive in the form of the mobile phone, another fascinating technology would appear first: the pager. For some listeners, the pager may feel like an ancient relic. For others, it may trigger memories of a not-so-distant past. Imagine clipping a small rectangular device onto your belt. It's lightweight, portable, usually black or grey. It features a tiny screen no larger than a few postage stamps. There's no touch screen, no camera, no internet, no apps. Most pages could display only numbers. Yet, at the time, they felt incredibly advanced. Suddenly, a sharp electronic beep echoes from your belt. You look down. A telephone number appears on the screen. Someone needs to reach you. Perhaps it's a colleague. Perhaps it's your office. Perhaps it's your family. The pager doesn't tell you why they're calling. It simply tells you that they are. And now you must find a telephone. Perhaps a payphone on a nearby street corner. Perhaps one inside a shopping centre. Perhaps one in a restaurant or a hotel lobby. A pager acted as a bridge between two worlds. 1 foot in the age of landlines, and 1 foot in the age of mobility. Doctors relied on them. Emergency responders carried them. Business executives clipped them proudly on their belts. For a brief period, owning a pager felt like stepping into the future. Yet, even then, something was missing. People still needed to find a telephone to respond. The dream remained incomplete. The world wanted communication without limitations. Communication that could move freely. Communication that could travel wherever people went. And then one spring afternoon in New York City, history quietly changed. The date is April 3rd, 1973. The streets of Manhattan are alive with movement. Yellow taxis weave through traffic. Pedestrians hurry between towering buildings. The sounds of engines, conversations, and city life fill the air. Among the crowd walks a man named Martin Cooper, an engineer working for Motorola. In his hands, he carried something unusual, a device unlike anything most people have ever seen. Large, heavy, awkward, more like military equipment than a consumer product. Yet this strange object represents decades of engineering effort. Cooper pauses on a busy sidewalk. Then he does something remarkable. He makes a telephone call. Not from an office, not from a home, not from a telephone booth, but from the street itself. The call lasts only a few moments, yet it becomes one of the most important phone calls ever made. For the first time, a truly handheld mobile phone call has taken place. The future has arrived. The device itself was far from perfect. It weighed over 1 kg. Its was into a future nobody could fully imagine. As the years passed, engineers continued refining mobile technology, networks expanded, components became smaller, battery life improved, and gradually mobile phones began moving from laboratories into the real world. The 1980s ushered in a new era, an era many people remember affectionately, the era of the brick phone. Imagine walking through a busy city centre in 1985. Business professionals hurry between meetings. Luxury cars line the streets. Fashion trends reflect confidence and ambition. And tucked beneath someone's arm is a mobile phone the size of a house brick. Some feature long antennas, others come with carrying cases. Many cost thousands of pounds. Owning one is not simply about communication, it is a status symbol. A statement, an announcement that you are embracing the future. One of the most famous examples was the Motorola Dynatac, a device that has since become iconic. Its tall antenna extended proudly from the top. Its keypad occupied most of the front, and its size made modern smartphones look almost impossibly small by comparison. Holding one felt substantial, serious, important. Today people joke about brick phones. They laugh at their size and weight. But in their time, they were revolutionary. Imagine driving between cities and being able to call home. Imagine changing plans without searching for a payphone. Imagine conducting business while traveling. For the first time, communication was no longer tied to a desk. Freedom had entered the equation. Of course, there were limitations. Calls were expensive. Coverage was inconsistent. Batteries still struggled to keep up. Yet every year brought improvements. Every year brought new possibilities. And every year the devices became slightly smaller, slightly lighter, slightly more practical. What nobody realized at the time was that another revolution was quietly approaching. A generation of phones that would find their way into school bags, coat pockets, backpacks, glove compartments, bedside tables, and millions of homes around the world. A generation that would transform the mobile phone from a luxury item into an everyday companion. The age of Nokia was about to begin, and with it would come text messages, personal ringtones, mobile games, and some of the most beloved devices ever created. The mobile phone was changing, not overnight, not all at once, but year by year, model by model. The giant brick phones that once symbolized wealth and status were becoming smaller, lighter, more practical, and perhaps, most importantly, more affordable. For the first time, ordinary people began imagining a future where they might own a mobile phone themselves. No longer just business executives, no longer just wealthy professionals, but students, parents, teenagers, friends, families. The mobile phone was preparing to leave the boardroom and enter everyday life. And few companies would shape that transformation more than Nokia. By the late 1990s, Nokia phones seemed to be everywhere. In homes, in schools, in offices, in coat pockets, in backpacks, in glove compartments. Their designs were simple, reliable, familiar. And for many people, a Nokia phone became their very first mobile phone. Imagine holding one in your hand, the smooth plastic casing, the physical buttons, the small monochrome display glowing softly in the dark, the reassuring click of each key as you typed. There was something satisfying about those devices, something tactile, something real. Every button press could be felt beneath your fingertips. Every action required intention. And unlike modern smartphones, there were very few distractions. The phone did only a handful of things, but it did them remarkably well. One of those things was sending text messages. Today, text messaging feels completely ordinary, yet there was a time when it felt revolutionary. Imagine receiving your very first text message. The phone vibrates, or perhaps it emits a simple electronic tone. You glance at the screen. A small envelope icon appears. Someone has sent you a message, not a phone call, not a letter, a written message, delivered instantly. A message might only contain a few words, perhaps, see you later, running late, good luck. Yet those few words represented something entirely new. For the first time, people could communicate instantly without interrupting one another. No ringing phone, no lengthy conversation, just a quick message delivered through the air. Soon an entirely new culture began emerging. People developed shortcuts, abbreviations, creative ways to fit longer thoughts into limited character counts. Entire friendships unfolded through tiny screens. Teenagers became masters of typing with numerical keypads. Thumbs moved rapidly across buttons. Messages flew back and forth. A generation was learning a new language. Then came another simple feature that would become unexpectedly famous. A game. A tiny game called Snake. At first glance, it seemed almost too simple. A small line moved across the screen. The goal was to collect objects without crashing into yourself. That was it. No advanced graphics, no online multiplayer, no downloadable content. Yet millions of people became completely captivated. School breaks, bus journeys, waiting rooms, train stations, airports. Everywhere you looked, somebody was quietly guiding a pixelated snake across a tiny display. For many people, Snake represented their first experience with mobile gaming. A glimpse into a future nobody could fully see. A future where phones would eventually become gaming devices capable of experiences far beyond anyone's imagination. But there was another feature that captivated people's imagination even more. The ringtone. Today, most phones spend their lives in silent mode, but during the late family members simply by hearing their chosen ringtone from across the room. Entire businesses emerged around downloadable ringtones. Television advertisements encouraged viewers to purchase new sounds. Magazines printed ringtone codes. People spent real money making their phones unique. Looking back, it seems almost charming. A reminder of a time when personalization meant changing a ringtone rather than redesigning an entire digital ecosystem. Yet, even as people enjoyed games and text messages, another revolution was quietly approaching. A feature so significant that it would permanently alter the way humans documented their lives. The camera. For most of history, photography had been something special. Photographs were precious, limited, intentional. People carried dedicated cameras on holidays. They brought them to weddings, birthdays, graduations, family gatherings, moments considered worthy of preserving. Then cameras began appearing inside phones. At first, the quality was unimpressive. Images were small, blurry, pixelated. Colors often appeared washed out. By modern standards, the result seemed primitive. Yet the technology felt magical. Imagine standing with friends and taking a photograph using a device that also happened to be your telephone. No separate camera required, no film to develop, no waiting days or weeks just to see the results. The image appeared instantly. For the first time, photography became spontaneous. Ordinary moments suddenly became worth capturing. A meal at a restaurant, a funny sign on a street corner, a sunset, a pet sleeping on the sofa, a group of friends laughing together. A camera phone changed what people considered photographable. Moments that would once have disappeared forever could now be preserved in seconds. And as camera quality improved, human behavior began changing alongside it. People started documenting more of their lives, more memories, more experiences, more everyday movements. In some ways, the camera phone became an external memory, a digital archive of daily life, a pocket-sized time machine carrying thousands of moments. And while most people were focused on text messages, games and cameras, something even larger was happening behind the scenes. The mobile phone was gradually becoming something entirely different. It was no longer just a telephone. It was becoming a personal device, a companion, a digital extension of the individual. People carried them everywhere, checked them frequently, relied on them increasingly. The relationship between humans and technology was evolving. The phone was no longer simply a tool. It was becoming part of everyday life. Yet, despite all these advances, one limitation remained: the internet. Most mobile phones still struggle to access the web in a meaningful way. Websites loaded slowly, screens were small, experiences felt limited. The dream of carrying a true computer in your pocket still seemed distant, but not for much longer, because somewhere in California, engineers, designers, and visionaries were preparing a device that would fundamentally redefine redefine what a phone could be, a device that would reshape entire industries, a device that would help create the modern smartphone era. And when it arrived, the world would never look at mobile phones the same way again. The age of the smartphone was approaching, and with it would come one of the most significant technological transformations in modern history. As the early 2000s progressed, mobile phones continued evolving. Screens became brighter, cameras became sharper, text messaging became second nature. And yet, despite all these improvements, mobile phones still felt limited. They were excellent communication devices, but they were not yet the pocket computers we know every day. Many phones still relied on physical keyboards. Internet browsing felt slow and awkward. Websites were difficult to navigate. Applications were basic. The future was approaching, but it had not quite arrived. Then came January 2007, a year that would forever change the technology industry. Imagine sitting inside a crowded auditorium in California. The lights dim, the audience waits, journalists, developers, investors, and technology enthusiasts fill the room. On stage stands Steve Jobs. He began speaking about 3 revolutionary products: an iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. The audience listens carefully. Then he repeats himself: an iPod, a phone, an internet communicator, again and again. Slowly smiles began appearing across the room. The audience realizes these are not 3 separate devices. They are one device. The original iPhone. At first glance, it appeared surprisingly simple. A large touchscreen, almost no physical buttons, a sleek design unlike anything that had come before. But beneath that glass surface lay something extraordinary. The phone was not merely a better phone, it was a different idea entirely. Previous phones had added features. The iPhone reimagined what a phone could be. For the first time, the internet felt usable in your hand. Photographs looked beautiful. Music, maps, messages, and websites lived together inside a device. The smartphone era had begun. Almost overnight, expectations changed. Consumers wanted larger screens, better software, faster internet, application stores, touch interfaces. The entire industry shifted direction. And as the smartphone revolution accelerated, some companies adapted brilliantly, others struggled, some disappeared entirely. The story of mobile phones is not only a story of technology, it is also a story of competition, of giants rising and giants falling. Consider Motorola, the company that helped create the phone itself. For decades, Motorola stood at the forefront of mobile innovation. Its devices shaped the early industry. Its engineers helped build the future. Yet success in one era does not guarantee success in the next. As smartphones transformed consumer expectations, Motorola found itself struggling to maintain the same dominance it once had. Then there was Nokia. For many people, Nokia seemed invincible. During the late 90s and early 2000s, Nokia phones appeared everywhere. The company sold hundreds of millions of devices. Its market share seemed untouchable. If someone had predicted Nokia's decline at the height of its success, Few would have believed them. Yet technological revolutions move quickly. The smartphone era rewarded adaptability. The companies that moved too slowly often found themselves left behind. Then came BlackBerry. For a time, BlackBerry was the device of choice for business leaders, politicians, and professionals. Its physical keyboard became iconic. The satisfying click of its keys were instantly recognizable. Owning a BlackBerry signaled productivity and professionalism. Entire organizations relied upon them, yet consumer preferences changed. Touchscreens became increasingly popular. Applications became central to the smartphone experience, and BlackBerry's dominance gradually faded. Another fascinating story belongs to HTC, a company many younger viewers may barely remember. Yet during the early smartphone era, HTC played a significant role. Its devices helped define what Android smartphones could become. For a brief period, HTC appeared poised to become one of the industry's biggest players, but intense competition left little room for error, and gradually, HTC's influence diminished. Meanwhile, two companies emerged as dominant forces: Apple and Samsung. Apple focused on software design and ecosystem integration. Samsung embraced rapid innovation, diverse product ranges, and technological experimentation. Together, they helped shape the modern smartphone landscape. Looking back, these stories reveal something fascinating. Technology moves incredibly quickly. A company can dominate one decade and struggle the next. Products once considered revolutionary can become forgotten. Entire industries can change within a few years, and perhaps nowhere is that change more visible than in the object sitting in your pocket today. Because the modern smartphone has done something remarkable. It has absorbed countless other technologies. Imagine emptying your pockets in the year 1995 before leaving home. If you were traveling, you might carry a camera, a map, a diary, a calculator, a portable music player, perhaps a torch, maybe a newspaper tucked beneath your arm. Each item served a single purpose. Each occupied physical space. Now imagine doing the same thing today. Most of those objects have disappeared, not because they became unnecessary, but because they moved into your smartphone. Your camera became an app. Your map became GPS navigation. Your diary became a digital calendar. Your music collection became a streaming service. Your calculator became software. Your torch became an LED flash. Your newspaper became a newsfeed. Your television became a video platform. Even your wallet is increasingly becoming digital. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about the smartphone is not what it became. It is what it absorbed. Dozens of devices, entire industries, countless everyday objects, all compressed into something small enough to fit inside a pocket. And yet, even now, the story remains unfinished, because every generation believes it has reached the future. The family gathered around a rotary telephone in 1960 felt modern. The business executive carrying a pager in 1990 felt modern. The teenager texting on a Nokia 3310 in 2000 felt modern. The customer purchasing the first iPhone in 2007 felt modern. And today, we feel modern too. Yet future generations may look back at our smartphones the same way we back fascinating relics from another era. So, what comes next? Perhaps foldable devices become common. Perhaps smart glasses replace screens. Perhaps augmented reality blends digital information with the physical world. Perhaps satellite communication eliminates coverage dead zones entirely. Perhaps wearable technology becomes so seamless that we no longer need to carry phones at all. Some researchers are even exploring brain-computer interfaces, technology that could allow direct interaction between the human mind and digital systems. Whether those visions become reality remains uncertain, but history teaches us something important. The future often arrives more gradually than expected, then suddenly feels inevitable. And so, as our journey draws to a close, let us return to that simple telephone sitting in a hallway many decades ago. A heavy device connected to a wall, a device that could only communicate from a single location. Its owners could never have imagined the world we live in today. They could never have imagined carrying the thousands of photographs in their pockets, watching videos from around the world while traveling on a train, navigating unfamiliar cities with satellite guidance, speaking face to face with someone on the opposite side of the planet, carrying the knowledge of humanity inside a single device. And yet, each generation contributed a small piece of the puzzle. The rotary telephone, the pager, the brick phone, the Nokia, the camera phone, the smartphone. Together, they tell a story, not merely about technology, but about human curiosity, human creativity, and our endless desire to connect with one another. Perhaps one day, future generations will tell the next chapter of this story, a chapter we cannot yet imagine, a chapter that may make today's smartphones seem as quaint as a rotary dial. But until then, the device beside you remains one of the most extraordinary objects ever created. A camera, a map, a television, a music player, a library, a calculator, a diary, a torch, a wallet, a connection to the world, all resting quietly in the palm of your hand. And perhaps that is the greatest mystery of all. Not how the world fits into your pocket, but how quickly we became accustomed to carrying it there. Thank you for joining me on tonight's journey. And until next time, may your evening be peaceful, your mind be curious, and your stories continue to grow among the treetops. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed that one. It's very interesting, this video. Creating it. It makes you think about how far technology has really come in terms of mobile phones and communication devices. It just puts things into perspective. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like. Leave a comment down below on what you think to the topic itself, with how far phones have come, and comment below which technology you'd like touching on next, and feel free to subscribe